Hello and welcome to Derry. I'm your host of the One of My Stories podcast, and with me today is your other host from the Sweet Child of Time podcast. I actually didn't remember his name until just 5 minutes ago when I saw this memo on my desk, because podcasting has a way of making people forget. His name is apparently Steve Barnes. Ahoy, Steve.
Lindsay, we've known each other for years now. Hello, Lindsay. Hello, listening audience. What is this, a Derry situation? Did you walk away from me and forget about me?
Well, now that we're talking, I remember everything. I remember when we fought monsters in the woods, when we went for a swim in the local swimming hole, and how we pinky swore we would never, ever forget. So I remember you now.
Okay, well, I guess that's good enough. I mean, what is it Rose said? Must not have meant that much to you then, huh, Lindsay?
She said that's very flattering.
Oh, okay, a little sarcasm. Rose is more sarcastic than I am, I suppose.
It meant a lot. It's just that podcasting makes people forget. So here we are at episode 3. Now you see it. What did you see, Steve? What did you think about this episode?
Oh, man. I'm juggling thoughts and emotions already. I mean, okay, we had some good parts to this episode. It's not getting a lot of love from the worldwide community right now based on the ending of this episode, but we got some good backstory tying in, what's his name, General Shaw with Derry, as you just alluded to, very slyly. Really moving forward with Dick Hallorann, and we're seeing the beginnings of the black spot and stuff. But I do feel the last couple scenes of this episode kind of left a sour taste in my mouth and a lot of people's mouths. And that's very unfortunate that we have almost a universally soured ending on a pretty good world building episode here. So I'm kind of like a half and half bipolar about this episode, Lindsay. How about you? I'm going to put it back to you. Are you being a little more cheery about this one?
I am. And that's why I always say, stay off of those message boards, because they steal your joy. When you see everybody hating on something, it's hard. It can be hard to rise above it all. But a little bit of a pushback. I don't know when we say the ending, I feel like there's the ending that took place in the cemetery, that last kind of big scene, but then the actual ending, the cliffhanger, I've seen a lot of people say they like that, they just don't like that cemetery scene.
Sure.
And I'm also not on the Reddit. But me personally,
yes,
I thought this episode was a wonderful surprise, because I did not expect that we were going to go back to 1908 already.
Right.
That was a shocker to me. There was a few moments we sort of got flashes of this circus. Maybe it was in some previews or some trailers that we saw that. So we saw there was this circus, or somebody remembering flashes of this circus or freak show. And I just thought it was really surprising that we met these current characters from 2 cycles ago. And I had just talked last week about the original club maybe being made of Indigenous kids. And we got it already. We got to see part of that there were these kids selling water. And so in my mind, I was like, okay, this is the original, this is the Indigenous Losers Club. And also we have Francis joining that. But there's also this mental showdown between Hallorann and Hanlon that I liked. And setting the stage, this episode set the stage for the inevitable return of Pennywise. Maybe he'll show up the next episode. People keep waiting for that to happen. And there was sort of a dark tie-in as well, in my mind, because we get the characters playing in multiple timelines, kind of that, in Dark, everybody goes gaga for the casting because they all sort of look alike. And they do these facial melds. And they did that right in the episode. They did a facial meld for Rose from when she was a child to her older self. So I love
that, actually. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we know what this is. We like this. We like when we get to see the characters in different generations. I know that's a favorite thing of yours. You also like the Yellow Jackets show for the same exact reason, is getting to see somebody when they're a child, then maybe when they're a teen or when they're an adult, and kind of the evolutions, because without having to spell everything out, you kind of get a mini life cycle for this person. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, I think when done well, that is one of my absolute favorite devices in any kind of like film is, having a very strong actors portraying a character in the different stages of their life really well. What you just said, though, I have 3 notes to push back on.
Oh my gosh, he's waving a sticky note at me, everybody.
That's right, because I really wanted to interrupt you 3 minutes ago when you said, oh, don't go online and get your opinions from online. That's not what happened, Lindsay. I watched this episode the second that it aired. I was waiting for it. And when it ended, I was deeply disappointed by that graveyard scene. And I was left with a sour taste in my mouth. I did not go online until the next day to look at it. And I saw that a lot of people had the same opinion as me. So I think I didn't go online and get that opinion from other people. I had that opinion, and it just so happened that there was a lot of parallel thinking going on out there, and a lot of people were expressing that. Now, people do jump on the bandwagon. They like to see a victim. They like to jump on it and have their own little take on it. And I'm here to, in a way, defend it and talk about why I don't like it. I don't want to be a jerk about it, like I told you earlier. So, second thing, you mentioned this is the early losers club, and I want to push back on that a little bit because I'm not sensing any sort of shine or abilities or communion except between Rose and Francis. So that's just 2 people that were like a couple for like a summer, like when they were 12. If we start seeing clues about Losers Club coming up, like I might jump on board with that. But right now I think it's too early to like proclaim that this is an early Losers Club. Even though I'd like to agree with you, I can't. I'm sorry. And then the last thing, everybody is talking about Pennywise. And that's one thing about being online that I'm kind of sick of, is that people complaining that Pennywise is not on this show yet. Where's Pennywise? When's Pennywise going to show up? I mean, it's been well documented that he won't show up until about episode 5 or 6, but a casual viewer might not know that. However, the whole concept of Pennywise is that he is an incarceration of it. So we've been seeing Pennywise every episode. We just haven't been seeing Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. I think a lot of people are really hyped and looking forward to that. Meanwhile, we got tons of Pennywise type scares going on. I myself, these scary images, I'm kind of a baby. I've told you before, like I don't like scary stuff. Scary images tend to like stick in my head like glue, just to be like re-examined and replayed like quite liberally throughout my day, and like especially at like dark moments or when it's dark or nighttime. And I've had that happen twice in this past week, once in my garage, once in my bathroom, where I, as a grown man, was scared. And I was peeking behind the shower curtain looking for Pennywise, grasping for the light plug in my garage, honestly scared. And that is due to like the vibe of this show. That's what I'm watching. This is my vibe. I watch Dr. Sleep as well. So this is doing its job. It's supposed to be a scary show to scare you, and it's been working. Except I cannot wait till we get to the very end scene so I can describe more into that, because I didn't see a whole lot in that scene that scared me. I didn't feel any sort of dread in the graveyard. Whereas the last episode, I was definitely scared. I definitely felt a lot of dread. So I think on the scare factor alone, I rambled a lot there, Lindsay. So back to you. Now you can say your 3 points.
I was not accusing that. I wasn't saying that you had that opinion because of other people. But you did lead with that. You were like, other people have said, people have hated it. And to me, when we're talking about our reactions, we should be talking from our perspective and not, this is what everybody else says. So I was just kind of like, let's not lead with that. Like, if that's your opinion, fine. But sometimes I got online today because I was looking for some information, and I found an actual Reddit that was basically, it was like, come here if you want to complain about Welcome to Derry. And I'm like, why are you spending so much time complaining about Welcome to Derry? Great.
Hate is going to hate.
Yeah. And it's obviously not a full-fledged Losers Club, but they could be. I'm saying there's hints of it. I didn't expect, like, again, I didn't expect they were going back to 1908. I didn't expect that we were going to see this group of indigenous kids selling water and them playing in the forest, and then Frances being invited into that. That was just a total shocker for me in a good way. So even though I think Rose definitely has some sort of magical or something about her.
Possibly.
I don't know about Francis. I'm still a little bit undecided about him, and that's, something I want to talk when we talk about his character. I want to explore that a little more. So I think we're in a good place here. We've shared our opinions.
I want to keep sharing it.
Yeah. All right. So, and yes, you should. You absolutely should. So for listener feedback, I don't have any listener feedback, but I did, again, want to revisit, because we promised people that we were going to talk about baseball jerseys.
Right. Yes.
And we wanted to talk a little more about those baseball jerseys, because both of us did some research on, can we find out anything more about these baseball jerseys?
Right.
So there were some possibilities explored. One thing is, we just discovered Stephen King loves baseball, especially the Boston Red Sox. So they might have just put this in because he loves baseball, so let's put some baseball in. But if you look at what is in the Stephen King universe about baseball, you also find this in the book The Dreamcatcher. They had this Tracker brothers that owned a trucking depot on Kansas Street, and they maintained a baseball field behind the depot where the children used to play.
Yeah.
I have not read Dreamcatcher, and you mentioned you had, but maybe it's been a while.
It has been too long for me to quote it, yes.
But what kind of research did you do about those baseball jerseys, Steve?
Well, yeah, I was prompted with the Dreamcatcher as well from you. So I kind of revisited just briefly about Dreamcatchers, but also it happened in Derry as well. They were mentioned during the Mike Hanlon chapters in the Derry book, It, that we're, based off of here. And there's no specific tie-in. And so that made me think, perhaps because this is directly related to The Shining, we got Dick Hallorann in here, and we know that Dr. Sleep is the sequel to The Shining, and Dr. Sleep had that baseball boy in there. That was one of a character that perished at one point. And so I watched the movie and read the book in this past week.
Wow.
I've Dr. Sleeped myself out. And it's definitely no relation to our story here and the baseball boy, because he was wearing a very similar looking jersey. So that was a dead end for me. But then going back and rewatching episode 2, particularly that scene when they go into that big warehouse and they're looking at those objects. And now knowing that this object that Frances and Rose had, this slingshot, and they can trace it using this slingshot because it's a magical object that was touched by it. I can only assume that these jerseys were found on some kids and that these scientists are trying to use that same method. They're trying to find objects that were touched by it or affected by it and use those for astral type investigations. And so they came up with the slingshot. I think the jerseys are just there. I'm positive we're going to see something about that later on, but I can only assume that those are jerseys that they're trying to contact it and trying to get in communication with it. That's pretty much all I came up with the jerseys. And we do know that they're not beacons. We're kind of getting clued up about the beacons too. They're not these objects like the car. They're not objects like the slingshot. It seems like, based on this episode, and Rose in particular, she tells us that, it can't go past this certain point. So I think finding those beacons and being able to triangulate where it can and can't go is super important to General Shaw.
Okay. Yeah, the only other thing I have about the baseball jerseys is that I paused to try to read again the baseball jerseys, and it was hard to read. All I can make out was that the first letter was an E, and it had maybe 6 letters in it. I tried seeing if there were any baseball teams that were in Maine that started with the letter E. I hit a dead end with that.
Any Stephen King last names from character last names that might start with an E as well. with 6 letters might be something that our
Yeah.
sharp listeners might delve into, or maybe we might delve into that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times the name that gets put on a jersey is the sponsor, like who sponsors the team. So that was another possibility is there a store, one of those businesses on Main Street that maybe sponsored this team? Or in Dr. Sleep, for instance, his jersey said Adair because it was in Adair, Kansas, I think. Do I have the state right? Iowa, yeah. And that was the name of the city. So I was like, okay, is it a name of a city? So we didn't find much. We didn't find much with those jerseys, but it was a fun ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm banking on the Tracker Brothers. Like you were the first one to bring that to my attention. Like, could be Tracker Brothers, and that immediately like rang bells in my head. And that does triangulate with it more so with Dreamcatcher, but in Dreamcatcher, that's exactly where the Tracker Brothers were located, in Derry.
And that's just like the Mushy Eddies, to pull up some random, or it could even be when they're conversing with Stephen King, he's like, oh, you should put this in because my readers will know, they might remember something about Tracker Brothers that happened so long ago.
Maybe Lindsey Dunn will pick this up.
With the power of Google.
I can say that, like, what you're saying about baseball and Stephen King's love of baseball, that reminds me that I was heavily into Stephen King throughout the 80s, early 90s, kind of fell off a little bit, was exploring other authors, and I left Stephen King back in the dust. But sometime around, I think must have been 2005, 2006-ish, maybe sooner. I mean, Google will tell us the answer here. I read at the time his new book, The Girl Who Loved Tom Somebody. And the Tom Somebody was like a baseball player. And the whole book was involved around baseball and this little girl's passion for baseball and how much she loved this certain baseball player. So like, yeah, that was my jumping back on point with Stephen King, was a book about baseball. So it just kind of all comes around for me, Lindsay.
All right. So let's read our brief recap now. In 1908, a young boy named Francis visits the circus that ignites his fears for a skeleton man. He also meets Rose, who we know as Secondhand Rose. These two kids meet again as adults, realizing they are on opposite sides of a turf war. Meanwhile, Clint Bowers visits Hank Grogan and tries another tactic to get him to confess. Major Hanlon and his buddy Captain Russo, Steve's favorite, are ordered to take Dick Hallorann into the air to get closer to the target. He has a vision, and Hanlon saves Hallorann's life. Hallorann shares an awkward family dinner with the Hanlon family, where they have a meeting of the minds. Lily is released from Juniper Hill much quicker than expected. She returns to school and apologizes to Ronnie. The two of them convince Rich and Will to help them set up a seance of sorts to encourage the spirits of their ancestors to show up so they can take pictures. It's risky business, but they get some photos, and one photo is of a clown.
You sure that was a clown? Looked like a cowboy to me.
It was the weirdest clown I'd ever seen. That was not clear at all.
See, that was how the episode ended. You agree with me now. It ended on a weird note.
I'm believing that they said, like Will said, I believe that you believe it was a clown.
Okay, all right.
If the kids say it's a clown, because I was like, it looks sort of more like in a Mexican restaurant, somebody wearing a sombrero.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's exactly what I said. There's two things that I wanted to bring up, not directly about your recap, but they're tied in there. The musical montage, not the musical montage, but the intro sequence to the show, the animated sequence. Yep. Did you notice that like underlayer of unease that was in the music mix this time around?
I was going to ask you the same question.
Oh man, we think just alike. I have this theory. This is only the second time that we've seen that. So the first time it was bright and cheerful. This time a slight layer of unease. Like, am I hearing that? Yeah, I guess I am. I have a feeling it's going to get darker and darker with each episode. I'm crossing my fingers, but that would be super cool if it did that.
Like maybe I also noticed that there was an additional image in the thing.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
So
No.
I wonder if the pictures are going to change, or
I hope
because
so.
we've mentioned that we seem to be missing the black spot. Perhaps they're holding on to that and slowly going to make it part of the credits.
What did you notice that was different? I didn't catch that.
There's an addition of the clown cart, the clown cart from that they meet that Dick
In the
Hanlon
Vision?
sees.
Yeah,
in the Vision. Yeah.
So that's in the opening credits now. I got to watch this again because I didn't see it.
It's in the last image when
Cool.
the kids are at the Easter egg hunt.
What a great place for him to set up shop right there.
I mean, it does seem like there was several little things hinted at that could become part of that Easter egg hunt. So speaking of Easter egg hunt, we're at the Easter egg hunt.
Oh, one more thing, if I may, please.
Sure.
Because this is very fun. This might be a fun way that we can rewatch the show, because transcripts of our podcast are available on Lindsey's website. If you didn't already know that, you can go to oneofmystories.com, and she has transcripts of each episode, which are helpful for deaf listeners. Another thing that's helpful for deaf listeners is the use of ASL. So there is a feature on HBO, if you're streaming this show on HBO, which I'm sure everybody is, you can turn on the ASL, and a hipster dude with a beard will pop up, and he'll start doing like adult sign language in the corner of the show. So that could be a fun way to watch the show in the future. I might do that for my rewatches from now on, just to see what the guy does.
Wow, that's great. I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah.
An actual dude shows up in the corner?
Yes. Very handsome bearded guy. Yeah.
Says the bearded guy.
Well, yeah, every guy with a beard is hot. That's right.
All right. Well, we're here. Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's time.
I got my basket. I got it right here.
All right. So you start, Steve.
Ooh, me? Okay. Yeah. This might be the biggest Easter egg of the show, so I'll get it out of the way. And some might argue it's not an Easter egg. I'm going to say the slingshot, because it's an object that's passed from Rose to Frances, but it also shows up in the movie and the book. Beverly is the slingshot ace, and she eventually gets her hands on probably this exact same slingshot. So that's my first Easter egg.
Right. And I love that the girl is the one that wields it.
Oh, yeah. A decidedly feminine weapon, I suppose.
Yes. Okay. So my first one is going to be 6719 on the dad's car.
6719.
Yes.
Like 67, like that? Or
no, 6. Okay, when Francis is with his father, they make a point of focusing on that license plate or thing on the front of his car, 6719. And I'm like, all right, what does that mean? It has to mean something.
Oh no, okay.
So I use Google, my friend, and I say 6719 Stephen King. And they said that 19 is an important number for Stephen King. It's as simple as that, but there's several works of fiction where somebody has 19 objects or 19 this or that. So I guess it's a little wink and a nod to that. I did not know 19 was a magic number. I thought, we've talked about 7, like 7 being the number of the Losers Club.
Right.
But apparently 19 is an important number for Stephen King as well.
This is news to me, a Stephen King reader. So yeah, I need to sharpen my skills here.
But I think they're trying to mark this as being an important moment because Francis bestows this slingshot. It's bought by the dad. He gives it to Francis. Francis gives it to Rose. She gives it back to him later.
Right.
But this is Rose being given this slingshot, and she seems to be an important protector of Derry.
She does.
So, back to you.
Okay, cool. My Easter egg is a human being. He's the director of the show. His name is Andy Muschietti. And when I first watched this episode, like I told you, I watched it the second it was available to stream. I watched it because I was tired. It was Sunday night. And I was like, why do they keep showing this piano player mugging the camera with his cigarette? They cut to him like 6 times. And it's because it's Andy Muschietti. And he's like, yeah, get me in there lots of times. They need to see my handsome face. So that's my Easter egg.
And he's also playing a slowed down version of the main theme from the It movies.
And it's, I love that song. I was going to ask you what song that was because I don't know what it is. I figured you would. There we go.
Yeah, it's just the version that's played when Georgie gets sucked into that drain pipe.
Okay.
All right. My next Easter egg is, again, you could argue it's not an Easter egg, but we did have a little clown with a white wig at the freak show with little bells in its hair, holding a little trumpet, bugle. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it looks like a little mini Pennywise.
She's got a name, Periwinkle. That's seriously, that's Periwinkle the clown.
Okay, how do we know the clown's name is Periwinkle?
In the credits, she's credited. And huge speculation that this clown could be the daughter of Bob Gray. This leads to my next Easter egg. May I?
Sure.
The Pennywise wagon. When Beverly Marsh in the movie It Part 2 goes and visits Miss Kirsch, she's shown a picture of Bob Gray along with his daughter. And by all accounts, this daughter has a huge resemblance to this clown here. And the cart that they're standing in front of looks very similar to the same cart that she is sitting on. And the Pennywise wagon also shows up in Dick Hallorann's vision as well. So there's like a threefold Pennywise wagon happening here.
So why does Mrs. Kirsch in the movie, why does Mrs. Kirsch say she has a picture of Bob Gray?
Well, she just gestured to the picture while she was showing Beverly. Like, there's my dad, Bob Gray. And that he was a clown, and there's me and him, and the image is very similar to the image we see in this episode.
Okay, so we could speculate this little clown is the child of Bob Gray.
No, I mean, yes, we can speculate. I'm not saying that's the case. It could just be a fun Easter egg, like you say. Just a fun
Easter egg, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems quite possible.
All right, so my next one is the Funhouse tent. When they go in, the same place where we have the director, that is in the movies, the adult losers go in, and Bill is in there and in a funhouse and sees Pennywise kill a child. So it's very reminiscent of that scene.
Okay, right on. My next one, another Rose. So we got Rose, that's the store owner. We've talked about Rose the Hat from Dr. Sleep, but she has nothing to do with this. But we have an appearance from a third Rose, and that's Dick Hallorann's grandma. And she shows up, or at least a vision of her shows up and scares Dick. And her name is also Rose. So that was my Easter egg, is Dick Hallorann's grandma Rose showed up.
I didn't know grandma's name was Rose.
Stephen King loves that name, Rose, like he loves the number 19.
Okay. Another Easter egg is when the skinny man, is in the forest, the blood that floats up.
How was that an Easter egg?
Because, well, in the movies, the blood floats up. You know, whenever Pennywise is in the sewers, the blood always, because we all float.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of took me out of it a little bit because I didn't really love the animation of the spider crazy man. And when the blood started floating, I was like, what?
Yeah.
That was pretty much exactly what I said. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense then. The blood was floating instead of dripping. Cool.
I guess it's a visual thing that lets you know this definitely is Pennywise.
Okay.
Because why else? Yeah, I mean, for me, I was like, oh, it's just a cool visual effect. But then when I looked at it, I was like, well, wait, why is, when people get cut, their blood flows down. It does not float up.
Yeah.
All right, man, what you got next?
All our Easter eggs are at the beginning here. So
no, they're not.
Okay. Well, my next one is when they're throwing the balls at the little targets and the little targets fall down, they were throwing them at little turtles and little clowns. So I thought that was very apropos of what we're watching here.
Right. And the clowns fell and the turtles didn't.
Is that a detail that you clocked? The turtles win. I love this.
Once again, the turtles cannot be knocked down.
Well, I should have said turtle power. That would have been a great place to say that.
So I found another Easter egg in the credits that we hadn't talked about yet.
Okay.
That I only noticed because I was looking at that clown cart. But in the scene with the Bradley gang, there is a store called Bowers Roadside Produce.
Oh, right. Yep.
So now I'm wondering who owns that.
Well, Henry Bowers' dad was not a police officer in the book. So I'm thinking that might be, the Bowers family deal. It's got to be.
But in this movie, in this timeline, well, I
Right.
guess we don't know what timeline that would be. Since it's next to the Bradley gang, it's in the 1930 cycle. So it would be the next one when it's Henry's dad. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
But there was a Bowers farm. That's right. So
I guess that makes sense. They had a farm, so they're selling some fruits and veggies from their farm.
And one of the Bowers became the town sheriff, moving up on the world some.
All right, what's next?
This is a little questionable. You might say this isn't a definite Easter egg, but I think it is. Is when Dick Hallorann had his vision, the thing that stuck out most was like the image of the soldier that had the blood on his face. But right before that was like an image of a bunch of people at like a masquerade party, very similar to the masquerade party at the Overlook Hotel. And I can only think they must have thrown that in there for another Shining reference. So I'm thinking that was a slight vision of the Overlook Hotel, which in and of itself would have to be an Easter egg.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that vision more later.
Okay.
But good one.
My warning. All right.
All right. My next Easter egg is Pall Mall cigarettes. This is the brand of cigarettes that Clive Bowers offers Hank Grogan, and it also is a well-known cigarette brand. Even I know that, who has not read all Stephen King books, that Pall Mall cigarettes show up, and that's Stephen King's favorite, and that's what he used to smoke.
Okay. Well, I was thinking I'm more on Hank Grogan's side. I like those, but I never liked Pall Malls. I've actually tried them, and they're not good. Camel Lights, that's a good cigarette. Haven't had one of those in like 21 years, but geez, that was some good stuff. Lindsay, you might think this is odd, but I'm fresh out of Easter eggs over here. You might win this Easter egg hunt. You got another one for us?
Okay, I got just a few more.
Cool.
So the Phillies Panatella cigar box.
The cigar box itself. Okay.
The cigar box. It's the brand of the cigars. Our friend from 11/22/63, Jake Epping, smoked Panatella cigars because at the time, that's an expensive brand now, but back in that time in the 60s, this was much cheaper to get. So, yeah, the cigar box.
I like that tie-in to like another Stephen King story, so I'll take it.
I like the tie-ins to the other books.
Especially that one because so much time was spent in Derry with that character. So that makes a lot of sense.
The next one it's another movie thing, so it's that's why we have a divide and conquer strategy with the books and the movies. So the rock that the kids are sitting on at the swimming hole, that's, again, a repeat of that swimming scene between the Losers Club and the Muschietti It movie, part 1.
You mean Rose and Francis when they're sitting on that rock?
When they're sitting on the rock.
Okay.
That's the same rock that Beverly jumped off of and the Losers Club jumped off of. Or, in my mind, it is. They're going swimming, so that's an Easter egg for that scene.
Right on. Okay. I do know of an Easter egg. I know that when she brought Ronnie that jar of rubbing alcohol, the specific brand of rubbing alcohol she brought was fictional because the name of the rubbing alcohol, which escapes me right now, was one of the victims of Derry in the book. So let's just say, for example, the victim's name was Lindsey Dunn. Then the rubbing alcohol was like Lindsey Dunn rubbing alcohol that got handed to Ronnie.
Does that mean that the rubbing alcohol was made out of that person?
I certainly hope not, but I mean, it's conceivable.
Since you said it was a victim. Okay.
Well, yeah. It was one of the kids that died in Derry. Yeah.
All right. The alleyway next to the pharmacy where the kids gather, that's the same alleyway where the Losers Club meets to help Ben tend up his carved up belly.
Yeah, they really focused on that alleyway either in the first episode or the second episode. And they like put the frame on that alleyway for like 5 seconds. And I was like, why? What are you doing? And this is exactly why. So yeah, good eye there.
Yeah, I think that shot in the alleyway was not the same one as the kids meet in, because later she walks past Mr. Keene, who's at the pharmacy. So that one was earlier in the street in the geography, but this one definitely was, because you saw the drugstore sign next to it. And then my final one is Rich talks about writing a poem on your shoe. And I'm calling this an Easter egg reference to the poem that Ben wrote Beverly, even though, he didn't write it on his shoe, but the idea of writing a poem to a girl, and he's certainly Mr. Starry-eyed, Rich is, about his ladies.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. What was it? January embers. My heart lives forever. Or
my heart burns there too.
My heart. Yeah, there you go. We both remember it. I was a shoe writer. Like when I was in middle school, I absolutely wrote on my shoes, like wrote my favorite band names on my shoes and things like that. Did you ever get to write on your shoes, Lindsay?
My sister did.
Hell yeah.
I was like, she insisted on covering every single square inch of her kids. So I think I might have written some, but Mom didn't approve, because it was like, I spent money on these shoes and you've messed them all up.
Yep. That's what you get, Mom.
But she loved them.
Raising a rebel. Sweet Shot of Time is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the way we record Sweet Shot of Time. We hook up with our guests via video and we record it on audio. Recently, we've been doing video podcasts with the cast of Time Bandits. It's easy using Zencastr. You can record video or audio. You can also edit your podcast or your video via Zencastr. Join Zencastr using my promo code Sweet Child of Time, and you can get 30% off Zencastr. If you're ready to start your podcast, it's time to share your story. Share it with Zencastr. That promo code once again, Sweet Child of Time at Zencastr.com.
Okay, well, I think we are moving on to our characters.
Right on. Plenty of characters this week.
Yes. So last week we kind of spent with our characters, we sort of attacked them from least important to most important. This week I kind of wanted to do it just a little differently, and I sent you those groupings. So we're kind of just going to group our characters together as people who had a lot of scenes together. So our first grouping is Francis Shaw and Rose. So would you like to kick us off for this duo?
Yeah, sure. It's apparent that they met when they were very young and they had like an instant connection. For whatever reason, Rose was smitten by this guy, and they had a friendship throughout the summer. They left ways with one another, and darn if that guy didn't forget all about his podcast partner. I mean, his girlfriend. But I'd like to see like the trajectory of years, because he's been in Derry for a little while now and he's been doing the dig, and it seems like he's just today remembering Rose and, being able to go back to those memories that he actually, encountered it. He doesn't say this as an adult. He doesn't come out and say like, I was chased by it. And like when he talks about his memories of Derry, he doesn't talk about that at all. He just basically talks about Rose and his dad.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw what happened to the guy. We saw that he was directly touched by it. And this is an interesting caveat, I think, to this whole sacred object thing.
Mm-hmm.
Rose rescues him with the slingshot. So the slingshot becomes a sacred object. The slingshot itself never touched it. It's like the bullet that was shot from the slingshot is what hit it. So the slingshot itself never actually like touched it, but it's still connected to it in some sort of way. Like, do you accept that as a whole?
Yes.
I do too, but I can't think of a reason why.
Yeah. Well, one thing that dawns me about when the kids defeat it, the way they defeat it is it's not even actually about the objects. It's what they believe about the objects.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That when the kids believe that the melted silver dollars that Beverly uses with her slingshot, that those kill monsters.
Right.
And so and the weapon, the gun, they have a a cattle gun that they use in the movie, and it's not even loaded, but because the kid believed it was loaded, it still worked on Pennywise. So it's not about the object at all. It's about who wields it.
So I'm just wondering, yeah, so Rose wielded this and she hit it in the eye with it.
Mm-hmm.
And now, years later, they can use this slingshot to triangulate it, to find it. So I'm just trying, like as a casual viewer, or as a detailed viewer, just trying to make those connections.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not seeing it except for in a, I guess you would call it in a spiritual kind of way. Like the slingshot is what yielded the bullet, and the belief of the bullet is what hit and knocked its eye out in that moment. But of course, Beverly Marsh doesn't come around in this story until well into the 80s. So that hasn't happened yet.
Right. But when this slingshot became important was with Rose and Francis in the woods when they were kids. And she gave it back to him. Rose gives it back to him to say, this is so you don't forget me. So even though he forgot, quote unquote, Rose,
right?
He didn't remember her name or anything. He had this slingshot in the box and he's kept it all these years. So when he sees this slingshot, he goes, maybe he has faith in this slingshot as if from a child perspective.
Right.
And so then he gives it to Dick Hallorann, who does have the shine. And again, it's who wields it. He believes, he gives it to Dick Hallorann. Hallorann uses it, but it may have nothing to do with the slingshot. Again, it may be Dick Hallorann. He may be the beacon or the object. They're talking about these beacons. Maybe they're objects, maybe they're people. But, in Dr. Sleep, and you mentioned you looked at Dr. Sleep again, there's a moment when Dick Hallorann, as his ghostly self, tells Danny, you shone so brightly, they were all drawn to you. So in Stephen King's universe, it's not the object, it's the person.
I'll take it. I accept all this. I like it. I'm going to switch gears a little bit because we're still talking about Rose and Shaw.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Rose is indigenous here, part of that culture, and nobody in her crew is like really on board with the digging here. But Rose kind of is. She's kind of like has this like a wait and see strategy. Like they have this whole meeting and everybody's like, we got to get rid of it now. We got to do the thing. And she stands up and she's like, how about a cease and desist letter? And if that letter doesn't work, then we'll really give it to them. But we'll give them like a week or so. So like she's trying to use the power of bureaucracy to like help them discover this thing. And she wants to be on board with it. I think she and Shaw kind of make like it's not an ironclad pact here because they just kind of make these half-assed promises to each other. But she's like, I'd like to be involved so I can show you the places where you shouldn't dig, quote unquote. I think she's got something up her sleeve. And Shaw is like, okay, I'll take that into consideration. All right. So I think they'll be working together on this dig.
Yeah, that was all very intriguing for many reasons. But Rose she's a smart lady. So I believe when she suggested they write this letter, she knew it wasn't going to make any difference.
Right.
She knows that. And also it's like, surely she does not fall for a moment for General Francis Shaw's bullcrap that they're doing soil surveys.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. That's a bold-faced lie.
But she doesn't call him out on it. She kind of goes along with it and says, I'll take it under consideration. So that was all very curious. Plus, like you said, the fact that she says, I don't want to stop them from digging until I know what they want. And I would think that was very confusing to me, that she would be okay with them digging around unless... Yeah, because I couldn't be like, what would be in it for her, for them to dig, for them to keep digging? I was really trying hard to understand.
Yeah, I think we're meant to not understand that. And hopefully we'll be finding this out because it is intriguing because you can tell that she's got a lot going on in her brain there. She's got that thinking face. So
like with General Shaw, I just think he's becoming increasingly more interesting. And as this boy, he lives in Derry, has this encounter with Ed. He has a father who maybe thought he was a sissy. And so his motivations for doing this may be more complicated than we understood. I was thinking he was just a typical American going in there and like, we're just going to dig it up. But also, he's forgotten. We know that his memory has been messed with. But you might think as a boy, he remembers how powerful the thing was. So why would he think he can control it now? Did he forget, or just think because he has the military, now he has more power?
I mean, that's what I think. I think that he's like leading more people into it. He thinks there's safety in numbers. He trusts Dick Hallorann, and they're not just digging willy-nilly. They're digging where Dick Hallorann is instructed them to dig because he's getting senses of where things are. What I wanted to interrupt you with is that you introduced me to this fella's name, her nephew, not Daniel, but Taniel. He really wants to stop the dig, and we don't really get a whole lot from him this episode because, he's like, hey, we should, interfere. And she's like, no, don't interfere. And then he's like, okay, the end. And I don't trust that. I think that he and his friends are going to be peeking around more.
Yeah. Well, I think she said, they need you. Like he needs to stay.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to be somehow gifted as well in some kind of way. And if you watch the trailer, he's going to be more in the next episode. Exactly what his role is, I'm not sure. But back to these two. So part of me is like, I'm speculating here, but part of me wonders if he's going to dock General Shaw, meaning him. He's going to keep meddling. Of course he is. And will Rose be there to save the day again? He has this slingshot still in the box. Will they discover how to sacrifice these in a ritual of Chud? Probably not, since it is not defeated. But I wondered as we go along if he's going to keep meddling and they're going to work together, because it's obvious that even though they have different goals, I feel like they truly do still want to help each other. They want to be there for each other. But, Rose has her responsibilities. He has his. They don't mix. But if given an opportunity, I think they will be a partner.
Yeah, I definitely see that coming.
A final point I want to discuss about these two is when they meet as kids, when do you think this takes place in 1908? Is it before or after the Kitchener explosion? I would think it was before, but it also looks like it's a bright, sunny, pretty day in Maine. So then one would think maybe it's summertime. So I'm trying to figure out the timeline of when this Easter egg thing, or the explosion, took place in relationship to these two and what we see of them.
Yeah, they're not doing us any favors by switching these timelines around the way they are. And you're right, that does kind of play into like the Kitchener Iron Works explosion. I heard it proposed by a Redditor, of course, that the same thing. Like if the Kitchen Works happened in Easter and now it's summertime, why would everybody be so jovial and having this big fair? The town would be sad because hundreds of people just died. But I'll remind you that this is a traveling circus that has come through town. Derry did not put this circus on. This town is going from small town to small town. So it's totally acceptable that this traveling circus came into Derry sometime in the summer, a couple of months after the Kitchener Iron Works. And that's the reason why it's kind of acceptable, because it's not the town proposing this. It's just a traveling show.
Yeah. I don't know. I would just think that it would be a topic of conversation or something. But yeah, they're not giving us any clues. And we do know that what's his face? It is they do meet in the summer, because she even says to him, "It was one summer. We were 12."
Yeah.
So their friendship did last during the summer. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the timeline would put this a couple months after the Ironworks explosion.
But somehow he survived.
Not everybody was there.
Maybe I guess he and his dad are military, so they're on a military base. The indigenous people mentioned their land is actually far away from the town. They were pushed to the outskirts.
Yeah.
So those people did fine.
Well, I mean, it was Mike Hanlon that wrote in the book It and
Mm,
those Derry chapters that the town has a population of about 20,000. That was in 1930. So I imagine, they say that 91 kids died in the ironworks explosion. I'm guessing there was thousands of kids in town. So it's not unusual that, he wasn't there or didn't survive.
hmm All right, well, let's move on to our next pair, which is Clint Bowers and Hank Grogan. I think this is going to be pretty short. All I really want to say about these guys is that Hank still proves his mastery of movie trivia
Hmm.
with his knowledge of which celebrities advertise for which cigarette ad. But I am curious what you thought about their interaction, because Bauer set up this question and answer session to
Hmm.
reveal that a witness saw Grogan on Jackson Street at 11:30. Now,
Hmm.
he entraps him using this brand of cigarettes that he somehow gets him to tell, and then he just happens to have this pack of cigarettes in his pocket. So part of me was wondering, did he just have every kind of cigarette pack in his pocket ready to pull out?
No, no, no. I think this was a good trick.
I know. Well, let me just finish, and then you could
Okay.
tell me how I'm slow on the uptake. But
Okay.
it did dawn on me that perhaps he was, maybe Hank was not at home,
Right.
and so where was he?
Right.
Was he visiting a lover?
Yeah.
Is he at the black spot that hasn't been, maybe hasn't been
No,
invented yet?
he wasn't there.
So I was trying to sort of wrap my head around if he being Clint Bowers, if he actually has a legitimate point,
Hmm.
or if he's, he just wants to get this guy to confess. But the behavior from Hank Grogan makes me think there's something to the fact that maybe he wasn't at home as he said.
That's exactly it. Bowers is not a bad detective here. He's got a nice procedural edge to him. He did find that pack of cigarettes at the scene. That's an actual pack. He didn't have like a bunch of cigarettes and he wasn't trying. I do believe he's coming in this rightly so. He says he has a witness that puts Hank in the scene, and Hank does not deny it. You can see on his face that he wasn't home at 11:30 and he doesn't want to say where he was, which could only be he was out drinking or he was with a lover, because he doesn't want his mother and his daughter to know.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense to me because, he's not at a point in his life where he can bring anyone home. So he has to sneak around at night. And the cigarette trick I thought was pretty good. I think that I got the sense that he really did find those cigarettes on the spot, was waiting for him to confess which type he, not confess, but, reveal which type he smoked. And then he has them right there. I guess he was hoping for Hank to break down at that very moment with just a pack of cigarettes and go, "Oh, you got me." Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's not what he did. But I do think that Hank was messing around in a, maybe legit, maybe not legit way. We know he didn't kill the kids. He's
Mm-hmm.
innocent. But
Right.
I think Bowers is onto something here.
I was trying to figure out the geography here, because he says they put you at Jackson Street.
Hmm.
Now, if you said, but I'm thinking if Jackson Street is near the movie theater, or like behind the movie theater, for instance,
Hmm.
it's like, of course you might find his cigarettes behind the movie theater. He works there. So I was just trying to figure out, when you say Jackson Street, what does that mean? I tried to look up, and it just said that it's just a spot where there's a real gutter drain in Bangor, Maine, where Stephen King got inspired to write it.
It's just proof that he wasn't home. Like, I think the street is inconsequential. It's just like he's not where he said he was.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he's lying. Therefore, he's guilty.
Mm-hmm.
In Bowers' mind, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe we'll know more later.
Oh, I know. He's got a lady friend
Or a man friend.
or a man friend.
We
Even
know
more
that.
reason to keep it secret.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that, yeah, I'm just thinking, even if he was visiting somebody, they're still going to find him guilty either way, right? They're going to say, well, they could be covering for you if you're with this person's house.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about his mom and his daughter here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe he's like super ashamed or I don't know. That's an excellent point. You should probably run that past Hank.
But but also if he said his mother's covering for him, she's got to be, looking at their relationship, she would say, well, where were you then? So if he was.
Well, she attests that he was at home watching some show.
Right.
And he was. But at 11:30, after she had gone to bed, he snuck out. I think that's the whole point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would think if he's trying to lie to his mom, he would, need to make sure that she knows that I was at home. But if mom knows he wasn't at home, yeah, that was part was confusing, but that makes sense. All right. Next, we got Charlotte Hanlon, Major Hanlon, and Dick Hallorann. And you can throw in some Paulie love if you want. Paulie Russo loved here too if you want.
He was like a third wheel this episode. It was really sad. You know what I mean? I mean, he did talk about his hair again, which I'm really happy that he did that. But, no, he did play an important role because at one point he had to take over the helicopter while Leroy went back there and dealt with Dick. So, yeah, Paulie did something this episode. But yeah, are we going to throw Charlotte in there too?
Yeah, Charlotte, Major Lee, and Dick Hallorann.
I'm going to start talking about Charlotte first.
Okay.
She got her flowers this episode, literally. Like Dick brought her some flowers. That was nice of him. They talk more about the movement and how she wants to be a part of that and how that is a source of tension between her and her husband. We know that she's a school teacher. This is something that's new information. And if she was a school teacher, obviously she's college educated as well. But she is not finding a job here in Derry due to her being Black, and they don't want to hire a Black teacher right now. Only clerical work is afforded to her, and so she's not really down with that. She really wants to, concentrate on the movement. It seems like Dick is kind of like admiring that of her, but he sees the conflict that this can create between her and Leroy. And Leroy seems... Well, okay, I'll finish up with Charlotte. We see that Charlotte is obviously not exactly happy here in Derry. Dick is really adept at like pulling this information out of her, much to Leroy's chagrin. Leroy is a lot more closed off this episode than he was last episode. Like last episode, I got a real like family unit, a real love, like a real specific love between him and Charlotte. And this week, he's really closed off. And he's cutting conversations in half when he doesn't like them. So, yeah, I thought that was a really interesting change up in Leroy there, especially at the dinner scene after all this stuff goes down. And I guess maybe he sees Dick Hallorann as like, stepping on his vibe a little too much, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Did we get the feeling that Dick Hallorann was reading their minds at dinner? I mean, we know that he was meddling in a way because he's the one that says, oh, you're not happy, are you? But I almost got the feeling but yet he was able to know what to say. And there was this interesting moment when she talks about, my husband is worried that my activism will reflect poorly on him in so many words. And he says, well, and he kind of pauses for a minute and then he says, it's hard enough to be an airman. And then Major Hanlon is looking at him and looks curious. And it's almost like he's pulling the words out of his mind and repeating them because Charlotte even says, well, you two fly boys stick together. So it was almost like he was pulling words out of his mind to repeat what maybe she'd heard him say. I
think you're onto something. I think he was doing some light intuition and some very slight digging perhaps because Leroy can recognize when Dick is totally reading his mind because he makes reference to it here. Lindsay, I want to give you flowers as well because you were correct. That was Dick Hallorann. That was in one of those crazy suits that went in and attacked Leroy. Dick Hallorann was not the guy with the pipe, fortunately. But even so, he was reading Leroy's mind while that was going down. And then Leroy makes a mention like, I can tell you're doing it again and I don't like it. Stay out of there. So yeah, he knows when Dick is reading his mind. So I'm not sure he was exactly reading his mind. I think he was just more picking up a vibe at the dinner table with him and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And yeah, Leroy. I want to talk about Dick when he gets inside Leroy's mind. He's scared of Leroy. He's like, you have no fear. Like, I've never been around somebody like you with like that. There no hesitation. You're nothing but a fearless man. I thought it was, pretty rad.
Right. The dinner scene was really good for those two and their sort of bond. I don't know if it's a bond or what it is, but
yeah,
mutual
it's hard
respect.
to say.
A mutual
Something.
respect, maybe.
Yeah.
But before the dinner, we had the mission.
Of course.
So let's talk about that first, and then we can go back to the dinner. But they get put on this mission along with Polly Russo, and Hallorann uses this slingshot to find Pennywise, and I guess goes into Pennywise's head. But Pennywise then is able to go into his head. And what does he see? Whose head is he looking into? Because since Dick Hallorann can look into people's heads, I was like, okay, is these images, some of them have to be from his life.
Yes.
But could some of them also be from Major Hanlon's life? Because we see somebody lying on the ground, shot really bad in the head. And I was like, oh, is that the moment when I couldn't tell who it was? Like if that was maybe the moment when Major Hanlon's amygdala was damaged when he gets shot. We do see his grandma. We see the skirmishes, like you mentioned, a jester in a mask, almost like a Mardi Gras kind of thing. Yeah. And that was Overlook Hotel. That wasn't something I picked on, but I was thinking about the information we have about Dick Hallorann, about his childhood, which is pretty disturbing, that his grandmother and his grandfather, and he was abused by his grandfather, sexually abused and mentally, physically abused. But the way that his grandfather would convince him not to tell anybody is he told him there was this person named Charlie Manx who was a child snatcher. And I'm guessing Grandpa was like, if you tell, Charlie Manx will come after you.
That's right.
So I was like, when I saw that costume, I thought it was somehow connected to his grandfather.
Well, I think you're right in like all those images were connected. I'm sure that they were all connected to Dick Hallorann.
Okay.
I was thinking, my first thought was that it was connected to the Overlook Hotel and it was like an image that's going to happen in the future. Can't really explain that other than like that was for us, the viewers. That's the only explanation I really have for that. Because I think that the image of the soldier could either be one of two things, either something that Dick has seen in battle that has affected his life, or it's a fear of his that he's afraid will happen in the future, that he will be in combat and will die. I kind of prefer to use the phrase astral projection is kind of what they were doing with each other. They were like Dick locked into Pennywise's or its mind. And in doing so, Pennywise acknowledged Dick that was there. Very similar to the whole Dr. Sleep thing with Abra and Rose the Hat. The same thing happens with them. But here, it, like Rose the Hat, was not expecting Dick to do this. So it was surprised. So it like confronted Dick, asked him, "Who are you?" in a creepy kind of Nosferatu kind of way. But that told me that it didn't know who Dick was. It was surprised by Dick. It was maybe impressed by Dick, perhaps. And I think like when his grandmother came floating around, that was a manifestation that it knew that his grandmother was important to him, but then his grandmother turns into a scare. And that scare turns into it trying to get Dick to open the door to jump out of the helicopter to kill himself. Because I guess it figures that's the most logical step I can do here is to get inside this guy's head and, he'll jump out the helicopter and kill himself. Luckily, Leroy jumped in and stopped that from happening. But yeah, I do believe those images were strictly for Dick Hallorann. And like the whole pile of bones and all those bodies that were in that caravan as well was something to be astounded by. There's like thousands of bodies that I can only assume.
Yeah. I wondered if he was there seeing now or if he was seeing the future again, because we've seen that same image in the It movies of the bodies piled up like that.
If that's the case, then those were all of these were future images, perhaps then. The Overlook hotels in the future, maybe this combat thing happens in the future, and then this whole Pennywise wagon thing is going to happen in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know too. It's a mystery to me, but that was like creepy. I mean, this was a creepy moment.
Yeah.
It was different than being, jump scares, but it was just like, having Pennywise or having it talk to him from the darkness, because it doesn't interact with adults. He interacts with kids.
No, that's right. Yeah. And like, it wasn't supposed to see Dick there either. Like, their whole mission is kind of 50% blown at this point because they're trying to like surprise it and triangulate it. But if it knows it's looking for them, then that could kind of spell disaster for their mission.
Right. And he gives a warning, which will go ignored, of course.
What's that?
He gives a warning. Dick Hallorann gives a warning that will go ignored.
Of course. Yeah. He said, I mean, this is a bad time to try to call the mission off when it's going full blown here.
You actually saw it. Yes, please stop because it will go badly for us. I'll take that under advisement.
I do like Dick a lot more in this episode, though. Like, I was kind of cold about him so far, but this episode, we see him joking around a lot. He's like laughing with his friends, joking about Aretha Franklin. They're in this like quasi, like, I guess the black spot 0.05 or something, because they're promised they'll get a new spot to like hang out in later, which will become the black spot we know. I think one of the most important things here, which was kind of overlooked by everyone except for me. Did you notice that General Shaw told that other general guy that when they found those cars, they didn't find anything in them? All they found were bullet holes and blood, which means that those corpses that we saw, maybe only Dick saw that. We were seeing that through Dick Hallorann's eyes. He saw those corpses, but nobody else saw them. So like it's the kind of thing that only the kids can see, or only somebody with a shine can see. Do you clock that, or do you think that the military is just lying about not finding bodies? It could be one or the other.
Well, I mean, I don't think they were lying. They mentioned the car had been cleaned.
Yeah, they said the car's been cleaned. The only thing we found were bullet holes and blood. They didn't mention any of those bodies that were in there.
Well, maybe they took out the bodies because they couldn't do anything with them.
Well, they would have mentioned the bodies. I'm banking on the fact, this is my prediction, is that nobody saw those bodies except for Dick.
Maybe.
Because usually like adults can't see the victims of, or like the images that it shows us.
Yeah. I thought it was a little interesting that when the guys were outside, Hallorann says, stay out of my head. And Hallorann's like, oh yeah, I plan to. And it's like, well, what was that what you were doing at dinner then? But yeah, he was, I thought he was pretty charming at dinner. He definitely was pulling on the charm for Charlotte.
If only he would get a different haircut, then I would be really on board with him. But I don't like that square top thing that he's got going on.
It's a military haircut, Steve.
Boo! The other guys don't have that dumb haircut.
Yeah, he did. They asked for a little upgrade to where the boys can blow off steam.
Oh, yep. And yeah, they were promised that. So I think we're going to see that next time around.
All right, now we have our last quartet here. Rich, Will, Ronnie, and Lily. So yeah, start us off.
Yeah, start with Rich here, our little guy. Yeah, he's kind of outing himself as kind of a perv this episode. He's talking about boobs. He's checking out Lily's mom.
Tatas, Steve.
Tatas, excuse me. They call them tatas around here. I never talked about tatas with my friends. That's so stupid, Rich. And he's checking out Lily's mom, which I've checked out people's moms. That's par for the course. But the main thing is that he comes from Cuba and he's got an uncle, which he calls Babalu, I suppose, who was a priest, and the priest would summon orixas against people that like had debts. Oricha. Thank you for your better pronunciation there. So he introduces this concept to the group, And I mean, that happens a little bit later on. I'm just talking about Rich first, but he is the guy who brings this whole seance thing to the table here and kind of directs them how to do the candles and all that kind of stuff after he and Will have a little fun. And yeah, him and Will are good pals now. They were both a couple loners. They found each other, and I think they're going to stick together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rich here, I feel like he has a lot of energy. He's funny. He has a lot of riz, as the kids say, as the young folks say, to make them believe him. He had enough energy to kind of be believable.
Yeah.
And he mentions his crush on Marge again. So I thought that was cute. It's like, we got to bring Marge in here.
Yeah, he likes her face. It's not about anything other than just he thinks she's a pleasant gal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't show up this episode except for that one memory scene that he had. So we just had the quartet, like you said. And of course, Will here, he helped kind of facilitate this seance, because I think if it wasn't for Will, his important thing here is that he kind of helped the two groups come together, the two girls and the two guys, because he trusted and believed Ronnie's story. And the whole reason they came to him is because Will is smart in science, and they figure that would be a useful trait and a friend that might be able to help them out in their situation. And their situation is, of course, is that they're trying to exonerate Hank, and they don't want Hank to go to jail for something that he didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a scientist's heart, so he only believes in what he can see. He was the one that struggled the most to come to terms with this. He kept saying, it's not real, mm-hmm. or I believe that you believe. I was wondering, is that some phrase he learned from his parents? It sounded so like a parent thing to say, that when you're trying to support, right. Or like now today with therapists speak, if you believe it, then it's valid. It just felt like that kind of thing coming from this serious little boy's mouth. It sounded kind of funny, but
you're not wrong.
Yeah. He has this special concern for Ronnie.
Right.
And I did think it was kind of funny that just because he's a nerdy scientist, they assume he can develop pictures.
Well, I mean, he follows instructions well. I mean, he didn't know how to do it, but he definitely was familiar with the chemicals and knew things about patience and balance and things like that. I think he's a good ally in that respect. Mm-hmm. Ronnie, I think her role here is just she's determined to help her dad. Mm-hmm. And we're helping her get her family back on track. And the fourth person here, Lily, the Juniper Hill visit did not last very long at all. We're very surprised that she just went there basically for an overnight to get her medications refilled, and she gets to talk to the cool nurse that she's friends with, or allegedly cool nurse that she's friends with. So yeah, her Juniper Hill stay was very, very short. And when she comes back to Derry and she approaches Ronnie with an apology, I thought it was very wise of Lily to already have a plan in mind and to already have the camera on hand. Mm-hmm. Because I think she knew that just apologizing to Ronnie and just saying, oh, I'm so sorry, wouldn't do anything. So instead, she comes to Ronnie with a plan. This is how we're going to get your dad off the hook. So I think that Ronnie really changed her tune about Lily when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the four of them, I thought, made a good duo.
Yeah.
Because we've got Ronnie, who wants, to get her dad out. She's just desperate. And she's angry. She continues to be angry throughout.
Yeah.
But she's impatient. She's the one that walks out tries to leave the cemetery first. And then you've got Lily. She just wants to be a good friend to Ronnie. And she tries to follow and be helpful. She takes things very literally. Like when Rich gave these instructions, she took it literally and was the one that tried to make it all happen as it was supposed to. Mm-hmm. She's sort of the organizer of the group, I think.
All right.
And then Rich, he just wants to have friends.
Yeah.
So he's there for the friendship, for the community. And so also he's the humor. He's funny.
Yeah.
And then Will is, like you said, he's also a good friend, but he needs to be shown things. So they all had different ways of working together. I wanted to talk about, you mentioned this Madeline Stowe's character's name. She's not a nurse, she's a housekeeper.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right. And her name is Ingrid. Now, you said
Yes.
you had a theory about Ingrid.
Yeah. Well, first off, it's suspicious to me that she's so nice in this place, Juniper Hill.
Mm-hmm.
She does put a bracelet, the turtle bracelet, on Lily's wrist. She is very kind to Lily. She doesn't really give Lily any advice, though. Like, Lily asks her for some advice, and she just kind of gives her, like, just some nice words instead of nice advice. The suspicion comes in a couple different ways. We've seen a lot of different trailers and teasers for this show, and we've seen some scenes that we haven't seen yet. One of those scenes is this nurse talking to Lily, pretty much this exact same scene, except for she says, no one in Derry ever really dies. That's something that we saw Madeline Stowe as Ingrid say to Lily. Mrs. Kirsch said those exact same words to Beverly in It Chapter 2. Also in It Chapter 2, when they were at Mrs. Kirsch's house, we saw like the picture of the father and the little girl from the early 1900s. We see the same one later on in the same episode, and the same little girl. And we know Mr. Kirsch is a real guy. We've seen him. We've talked to him last episode. So the Kirsches are out there. I've got this nagging suspicion that this woman is related to Mrs. Kirsch somehow, or she actually is Mrs. Kirsch. She talks about her father and some stuff that her father says, and I can only gather that her father could be the one and only Bob Gray. Mm-hmm. Does any of that jive with you at all, or am I just full of it?
Well, I mean, I had seen speculation already that she was Mrs. Kirsch, but I don't agree with one thing you said, which is that she didn't give her advice. I feel like she did give her advice because she was the one that said people only believe what they want to see or what they see. Mm-hmm. And Lily repeats that later. So she's using Ingrid's advice to do this. And it was sort of inspired by Ingrid that Lily makes these choices, and the turtle bracelet. She makes sure that she has it on.
Yeah.
So I guess I am still not sure. I mean, we know she's going to play some kind of role because it's Madeline Stowe. You're not just going to have her on for 5 seconds here and there at Juniper Hill.
I wouldn't think so.
But I'm not sure if I'm ready to believe that she's a bad guy or a malevolent spirit yet.
She doesn't seem it.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that she has good intentions and then she's turned bad. I guess I don't want to believe it though, because of the whole turtle bracelet. We've seen the turtle as a force for good.
Well, I mean, that could be like, yeah, it is. And maybe that's just.
So unless she like added something to it, like she tampered with the turtle.
It is well aware that these kids have the turtle's protection.
Yeah.
Like, regardless. So I think it just kind of accepts that. The reason I said she didn't give her good advice is because Lily was directly like, what do you think I should do? Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, my father always said that this stuff's about the journey, but I think that journeys are important with who you're with. So I think you and Ronnie should be friends.
Or that she said, if she's important to you, you'll find a way to make it up to her. I thought
you'll find a way. That's so vague.
Well, what do you? She's not going to say specifically what she should do. She's not going to say go take pictures of dead corpses. She's going to.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think good parenting means you tell your kid what to do. I think it means you're supportive and you show them that you believe in them, and that's what she did. She was showing her. She doesn't get good support from her mom, so this was
not at all.
This was pretty good in comparison.
I'm still suspicious. This woman is an adult in Derry. Right there. She's up to no good.
Yeah, it'd be nice to think that there were like spirits of the turtle as well as, spirits of it, hovering around, ready to offer their aid. That's not something we've seen in Stephen King's world, but Who knows?
No, that's not true. A lot of times, like, yeah, they will have to use the powers of good and like
Right? Dick
summon.
Hallorann is that for Danny and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about the ending then so you can give your rant.
I don't really have a rant. I just think that, okay, the main thing, I guess, here, the main point I wanted to make to you, because you said that this scene didn't ruin your enjoyment of the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a direct opposition.
You're going to tell me why I'm wrong.
I'm going to tell you why you're wrong now. So let's put it from my point of view. Let's say that I go to my mother's house. I'm having a perfectly nice time with my mother, perfectly great time. Around 5 minutes before it's time to go, she starts laying into me. You know, I hate your hair. You know, your glasses look dumb. She just says all these terrible things to me that I just can't handle. I'm going to leave her house feeling upset about that. I'm not going to be like, oh, what a great visit with my mom. Those last 5 minutes were awful, but the visit was great. No, I'm going to walk away thinking about the awful thing that happened. Those last 5 minutes. That's what I'm thinking of. So for this episode, one of the first things I see that I didn't like was, like I said, the spider monster and the blood that started floating. I didn't understand it. Therefore, I didn't like it. So that was in the back of my mind. Dick Hallorann scare, I thought that was a good scene. I was down with that scene. But when the kids start doing their bike chasing and then we see the ghosts emerge from the graveyard, this is a paradox for me. This is a huge paradox because this bike scene was not exhilarating. It was not exciting. It might be exciting for someone who's maybe 9 years old or younger. Those ghosts giggling and flying around were not scary. They were silly. They wouldn't be scary to anybody unless they were like 9 years old or younger. But this show is not for 9-year-old kids. This show is for adults. This show is for older kids. So I think it's a real paradox why they put this uninteresting bike chase and these very poorly imaged ghosts to be the scare. To like even like fly around is silly in of itself, but then they were like giggling and taunting in like a really comical kind of way, which really killed the vibe. And then like when they were developing the things in the dark room at the very end and those pictures were really blurry, I was like straining like, what? And then the episode was over. So it just really left me befuddled. Like the last like 10 or so minutes, it just left me in a really bad place because of that ending and because of that strange paradox of like, this scene seems like it's for children, but children shouldn't be watching this show. That's the only thing I can really say, like my two defenses as to why I disliked that scene. Mm-hmm. I do have some ideas for how it could have improved, but maybe we'll not even talk about that. I thought the whole camera thing was silly. Like everybody gets their turn to have the camera. The next person gets the camera. And the way the logistics of the scene and as fast as they're riding their bikes and as far as they go, I'm like, how big is this cemetery? Mm-hmm. How many entrances does it have? It just seemed like they really could have reined this scene in a lot, saved themselves a lot of money, and just had a much simpler, scary scene here.
Yeah, I think the thing with the cemetery being long was that it was made to be longer, right? Like that was an illusion that they.
Okay,
but I mean, I'm not going to disagree with anything you said. Like the special effects, it kind of felt like Pirates of the Caribbean, sort of funny.
Yeah,
some people have called it Scooby Doo, like humorous, and yeah, the pictures were clear, but that. For me, that scene was about the kids getting excited that, oh, we got the evidence we need when we know it's probably not going to work. You know, they're not going to take.
Well, we know that, but not them. Yeah.
Yeah. But they had a lot of excitement as they were developing these pictures, and we're wondering what's going to be in the pictures too. So I wasn't like, oh, the pictures aren't clear. I don't like that. You know, it was just kind of like, they're telling me that it's Susie, that it's Teddy, it's this person. I liked the part where Rich gets all excited about the first picture, and he's like, I took that. It was
the picture
just Ronnie.
Yay.
Yeah, it was just one of the kids. He's like, funny. I took that picture. So I guess like your example of the dinner, I think doesn't exactly work, just because that's somebody personally insulting you. This is just a scene that you thought sucked. I think a better comparison is
Mhm.
you went and you had a good, you had a nice time with your family. You had, good food, but you thought the pumpkin pie sucked. Like, you just go out and get another pumpkin pie, or whatever. I was like, yes, that part was silly, but we got so many other good things in the episode. And they always say you want to end on a good note. But the
Yeah.
note we ended on was that, oh, we have these pictures and now we're seeing a clown, or a sombrero hatted clown.
A Mexican clown. Yeah. Or maybe a Cuban clown, perhaps.
A Cuban clown. It's an Oricha clown. It was nice that they brought in more of Rich's heritage with the Oricha and all of that.
I mean, I actually think that it was cool. I thought it was cool when he started dropping his accent as well. I was like, hell yeah, dude. Because I haven't heard much of that from him. Like, we know he's supposed to be Cuban, but he doesn't really speak with an accent. So I liked hearing that accent on him.
Okay. Well, who is your MVP of this episode?
I mean, in one respect, I almost want to say Lily for coming through with that clutch plan, but I really got to give it to Dick Hallorann this time around, because he went through a lot on that helicopter ride, of course. He's making his way into the Hanlon family. He's definitely getting good in with Shaw, and he definitely got us like way ahead with our plot by being able to locate it, being able to face it, and then walk away from that experience. So yeah, I'm going to give it to Dick Hallorann.
Good call. Good call. That would have been a choice of mine too. But since you picked him, I'm going to go with my number 2, which is with little shorty Rich. He just made me laugh this episode. Just everything he said, like his delivery was prime. Even though he kind of lied to his friends a little bit. Yeah, he just brought me joy. I like to laugh. Like you mentioned in the Discord somewhere, you said laughter is a gift.
It's true.
You mentioned for Erica, for Stranger Things. Yeah.
That's a solid choice. And I'm going to speak up about these kids too, because another thing I've been seeing online that a lot of people have been loving to hate on the child actors and the child's acting jobs. I disagree. I'm seeing good acting coming out of these kids. I'm liking the way that they're interacting with each other. I'm especially loving some of these behind the scene pictures that I'm seeing on this Pennywise Facebook group that I'm in, because it shows all these kids like having a ball behind the scenes and stuff. And it's obvious they're having a great time, and it shows on screen too. So I have no issue with these kid actors whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm not sure that we always need, for every movie where there's a kid group, we always need a big group hug as part of it. But
it did make me laugh though. Like when first it was like Rill and Ronnie hugged, and then like when your boy Rich latched in too, I was like, oh yeah, I like this.
I just felt like Stranger Things. It felt like but when you think about Stranger Things is based on, based on things like E.T. There was no group hugs in there. They all picked on each other. It was kid energy. So
okay, all right.
Stand By Me. Those boys didn't hug at the railroad tracks. They
didn't.
No. They might have put an arm about a shoulder, or like
they
did a shoulder nudge or something like that, or a hit, like hitting the arm. There was no.
Well, maybe because they were all guys, they felt scared to do that. But because we got like a unisex group here, they're more free with that.
A unisex group?
Yeah, isn't that what you call it? When you have all genders together.
Oh, I see. Mixed gender is what I would say. All right. So were there any...
Co-ed. That's the word I was looking
for. Very good. Were there any outstanding moments of the episode that you had that haven't been covered already?
Well, Lindsay, you always ask me these questions first. I'm going to ask you this question first, Lindsay, because I do have 2 in mind. But Lindsay, did you have any outstanding moments from this episode? I'm going to let you go first this time.
I did. The first one I have is Francis and Rose at the Rock when they're kids.
Aww.
And we've already talked about them, their relationship, but I really liked that scene. It was the last scene we see them together as kids. when they're swimming and when they make the promise that they're going to remember each other. And it's just really sweet and innocent, and just shows, I thought it really showed their friendship and how close they were. And he was kind of looking at Rose and knowing that I'm not going to see you again, maybe ever. And just that feeling of when you're a kid and you're going to lose your friend. And I just thought they did such a good job with that very quick scene, portraying that feeling authentically.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, the first scene that I thought of when we got to this section, like the best scene, for me, it's got to be the funhouse scene when young Francis goes into the funhouse. Andy Muschietti was actually pretty great as his role as the piano player. He did a really good job of leering grossly at the camera. That song was super cool to like underlay there. The Siamese twins, which we could have said that was an Easter egg because they kind of like looked like the twins from the Overlook Hotel as well. All those different characters inside that fun house and the whole vibe, and the eventually meeting up with the matchstick man with the one eye and the one tooth. Yeah, that whole scene was done really well. I like that.
The other one, well, I'm going back actually for a minute but it can be a scene. But we talked about the box that he uses, and we talked about Dr. Sleep, and maybe we meant to go here and then forgot. But Dick Hallorann and Dr. Sleep, Dick Hallorann shows Danny this box and explains that you can turn their strategy against them. You know, when they are trying to scare you and go into your mind, you can do the same. And if you enter, they equally have access to yours. And that comes up in this episode. And did he learn that here? What he says in Dr. Sleep.
Oh, wow.
And with the box, because in Dr. Sleep, remember he has a box and he shows it to him. And I'm wondering if we're going to see later on him using a box to trap Pennywise or try to, or it almost works.
Yeah.
Even though he does reference my grandma. My grandma's the one that told me this about my grandpa, about the box. But I thought it was interesting that he has this cigar box and then he has this box in Dr. Sleep that he shows Danny.
Yeah, I don't discount that. I do know that like in Dr. Sleep, he first utilized the box when he was a kid to trap his grandfather into it. Even so, like I'm still loving the connection. So I'm still nodding my head enthusiastically saying, yeah, I'm liking where you're going with this, because I mean, I love the parallels that it does have to Dr. Sleep. As a matter of fact, that's what me and Heather were watching right before you and I got in here and started recording. We were watching the tail end of Dr. Sleep in the other room. So, I mean, the way that they get into each other's minds and the way that they use objects to touch the object to be able to get a better fix on the other person, that's definitely playing through here. And the box theory.
Yeah.
I can only assume that that's what Dick is going to try to do. I mean, big spoiler alert. I don't think this is a spoiler alert at all. Nobody's going to succeed because we know that Pennywise and it keeps going throughout the 80s. So this is not the last cycle. They're not going to kill it at the end of this series. I mean, I think everybody is aware of that, but they might hurt it badly and maybe put it to sleep, or hopefully Dick will maybe try to put it in a box and fail. I mean, one thing we know for sure, though, is that it is going to survive, and Dick Hallorann is also going to survive because he's going to grow old and become the caretaker at the Shining. I mean, at the Overlook.
I didn't have any more scenes that haven't been talked about. So did you have any more that you wanted to throw in?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think we've covered every single scene, every single character. We might have missed a couple things here and there, but I think we were pretty thorough.
Ready to rate the episode?
I'm ready for a turtle rating. I'm scared, but I'm ready. And once again, do you want me to go first, or would you rather? Ladies' choice.
You can go ahead. I'm still contemplating.
Yeah, me too. So I gave the first episode a 2 out of 5. And I wonder if maybe I was unjust in that. I don't know if I'm allowed to go back and retract that or not. I don't think I am. I think it's pretty much cast in audio juice somewhere. Because I was tempted to give this episode, I am tempted to give this episode 3 turtles out of 5. But like I said, I dislike that graveyard scene so much, I want to deduct some points. But then I'm stuck on the fact I can't cut turtles in half Only a whole turtle counts.
Little.
So it might surprise people, but I think I'm going to go for 3 turtles out of 5 this episode, despite those other 2 turtles that I did not. The 2 turtles that weren't awarded was, for the ghosts and for the bikes. If it wasn't for those, it would have gotten 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm once again going to do 4 out of 5 turtles.
Legit. Okay.
Because I like this episode a lot. But yeah, it was that I still, there's room to blow me away. I'm ready for that episode that I'm going to just be knocked off on my socks.
Knocked off of my socks.
That's probably the wrong phrase. All right. So what speculation do we have, if any, for what will happen next week?
I've got a lot of speculation. Not a lot, but I've got a few things to say.
Okay.
I mean, I know for a fact the kids are going to appear older because there was a hiatus during the filming. And so they filmed the first 3 episodes at one period of time. Then 8 months of real time went by, and then they filmed the next 5 episodes. So when we see the kids next week, don't be surprised if Will Hanlon's voice is deeper or if everybody looks a little bit different, because kids grow up faster than adults, of course. So they're going to be slightly older. Now, my predictions, I predict that Hanlon is going to see it because we see him like going to Shaw with some hesitation. I predict that the photographs, the adults are not going to be able to see the clown in the photographs. I believe they're not going to be able to see Susie or any of that stuff. Either the photographs will mysteriously disappear somehow, or just the adults straight up won't be able to see them. I predict that Taniel, who is Rose's nephew, I think that he's going to insert himself into the action somehow that is going to be disastrous. I can totally see him supposed to be laying back like Rose told him to, but he goes and messes something up. So I have a prediction of that as well. Those are my predictions for the upcoming episodes. How about you, Lindsay?
Right. I am just getting my guesses from the trailer and nothing else. But we do see Tennille being questioned by Dick Hallorann. So I think, I was kind of wondering how that took place. Him being, maybe he's caught snooping around the base and they bring him in for questioning with Dick Hallorann, like you said. Like, that makes sense that he wouldn't listen to his aunt. But we also see Charlotte Hanlon talking to Hank. And that makes me think maybe Will decides to tell his parents something of what's going on, because otherwise, why would Charlotte Hanlon visit Hank? We don't, maybe because of her kids, they know, they kind of decides to get involved, and that talking to him may activate or ignite Charlotte's activism that Major Hanlon has been trying to keep at bay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
When she sees that he's being held unjustly, that may make her decide, sorry, I cannot stay silent on this one.
Yeah, that's a good call. I almost thought that she would be protesting against the statue. She would join those protesters
for the
Paul Bunyan statue. But this is a much better cause. I like this better.
So yeah, I couldn't really tell anything else from the trailer. That I saw Tennille, I saw Dick Hallorann again. Hanlon seems to be asking for Hallorann's help. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see where this goes next. Yeah, I don't think the kids are going to be believed. Adults never believe kids anyway. Photos or no, whether they see it or not, they could just think, oh, you kids made this, staged these photos with your creativity. You have all those props at that movie theater.
Oh, yeah. I've got a great speculation. I just came up with this one. This is fresh off the hopper
press.
All right. So the patty cakes, there's 3 of them. And then we got our 4 other kids here. 4 plus 3 equals 7. How does 4 and 3 become 7? How would the patty cakes join with our group? Because it doesn't seem like they would. Well, I think, speculation only, that the adults aren't going to be able to see these images, but the patty cakes, being kids, will. And they will see the images that were taken, or they will believe Lily and all them somehow. Wouldn't that be great if all of a sudden the patty cakes are part of our gang and then like they can use their resourcefulness in some sort of way? Maybe they can do like the little patty cake cheer and chase Pennywise away. I mean, all kinds of stuff could happen.
I think that this is a long lost cause.
I love it.
Good ideas. You're full of hope. I think Marge may be brought in by these photos, but not
Definitely.
The rest of the patty cakes. And
Forgot
also,
about her.
I want to keep our gender mixture even. I don't want
Too many girls.
bunch of girls and 2 boys. Let's not.
Well, that would make sense. Look at the Losers Club, 6 guys and 1 girl. What about that? I mean, I think it's justice to like have more women than guys this time around.
It could be. I don't see the patty cakes all of a sudden becoming good allies. It's 2 mean girls, you know, like, yeah.
It's Chinatown, Steve. All right.
It's Chinatown. I like your optimism. It's not Chinatown, Steve. It's Derry.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's not America. All right.
So we have just time for some plugs if we want.
I'd give my plugs last week. So I'm going to defer it to you, Lindsay. What are you plugging this week?
I will be posting an interview very shortly with the director of The Carpenter's Son, Lotfi Nathan.
Nice.
The Carpenter's Son will be of interest to our mutual friend, James the Marshland Monster, because it is a new role for Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
For, what's the name of his Nicolas Cage podcast again? It's
Engage with Nicolas Cage.
Engage with Nicolas Cage. If you are into Nicolas Cage, it's a good podcast for you.
Wait a second. You're going to be interviewing somebody who directed Nicolas Cage?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? That's like the biggest news. That's wonderful, Lindsay. I can't wait to hear this.
Yes, but the interview is not mostly about Nicolas Cage. It's about the rest of the movie.
Boo.
Plus, I'll be posting reviews of the films Nuremberg, The Carpenter's Son, and The Running Man, another Stephen King adaptation.
That's right. Well, heck yeah. I'm on board with that plug. I'll be checking out one of my stories for sure. Yeah, I've got nothing else to say here except I'm ready to dismount. Is it time to say water and shade and shoes, Lindsay? What do you say?
Well, this is what I have to say, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in this episode of Welcome to Derry Recap. Please don't forget us. You pinky swore you wouldn't with pinkies up. May all the clowns you meet be kind. May all the friends you've met be kept safe in your hearts. And we hope to see you all next week.
Heck yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.